Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for viewing this training video on the new onboarding model at Advanced Group. Today, I'm going to be walking you through a few components to this onboarding model. First of all, I just wanted to go over a high level of the onboarding model with you. So an introduction as to why we're implementing a new onboarding model, the key objectives we have as a company for this new model, and the different requirements we had to rolling it out. Secondly, I'd like to dive into the three components of the onboarding model, so actually introducing it to you, talking you through the different functional components to it, what you as a manager are going to be responsible for. Thirdly, I'd like to dive into a step-by-step onboarding model in action. So what will be taking place before a new employee starts all the way through their first 90 days with us. What are the key action items to focus on with this new onboarding model? And finally, next steps. So first of all, a key deliverable of our 2018 company strategic plan was to develop and implement a new onboarding model for new employee speed to productivity. The onboarding process at Advanced Group is absolutely critical for new employee engagement, their retention, but it's also important for company productivity and for performance. So outside of this being a strategic goal deliverable, why develop a new onboarding model? Why is it important? Research shows that newly hired employees are 58% more likely to still be at a company 3 years later if they had completed a structured onboarding process. So think about employee retention, think about their employee engagement throughout their life cycle with a company. They are staying longer if they've completed a structured onboarding process. Next, 54% of organizations with a formal onboarding process experience greater new hire productivity, which is exactly what we were gearing towards in that strategic plan, that strategic summary. And 50% experience greater new hire retention. So as a company, we do have a few key objectives. And first of all, that's just overall creating a first-in-class onboarding program. But the reasons for that include equipping new employees with tools and resources they need to excel at their jobs. So are we setting employees up for success here? Yes, with this new onboarding program. Secondly, we want to ensure that new employees connect with and effectively contribute to the mission and culture of the organization as quickly as possible. So how are they acclimating with us? Are they doing it quickly? Are they truly experiencing the best of what Advanced Group has to offer in terms of culture? Are they diving into it and being a part of our different functions and committees, those types of things? Thirdly, we'd like to clearly define and assign roles and responsibilities in the success of a new employee's onboarding. So the new employee, we really want to make them the owner of their own onboarding experience with the support from their manager and from the different departments across the company, including HR. And so how do we clearly define and assign roles to make sure that everyone knows what role they play and making sure that that new employee is successful? We'd like to prioritize employee engagement and retention. And then we'd like to accelerate new employees' path to productivity and really foster a high performance culture. We were lucky enough, incredibly lucky, to have the support of such a great onboarding committee, which has representation from nearly every business unit. So every month we were meeting as a committee to support the project initiatives, to brainstorm ideas for our new program. This group you see on your screen was actively involved in interviewing stakeholders across the company to ensure we were gathering the right information. They're an awesome group of people that we couldn't have done any of this without them. And so if some of you are listening to this training as a manager, thank you very much for your participation in this. What the committee did is we were tasked with interviewing stakeholders from across the business to gather information on any unique onboarding requirements across each function of our business. So we have these different functions. Think of it as sales for staffing, recruiting for staffing, HR, finance, IT. All new employees entering these different functions, they're going to be experiencing and needing to learn and be trained on different things. So we needed to gather information from these stakeholders on what unique learning objectives do new employees to this specific function have? What would their first assignment be as they join the organization? What are their training requirements? What resources and tools and systems do they need to learn during their onboarding in order to be effective in their role? So the onboarding committee was collecting all of this information in order for us to create the new onboarding model. And so what I'd like to do now is introduce the onboarding model to you. I'm really excited. So the new onboarding model has 3 different components. We're going to be diving into the details about each of these components on the following slides, so throughout the rest of the presentation. So first of all, we're going to start with the onboarding blueprint. Secondly, I'd like to introduce you to new programs we're rolling out with this new model. And third and finally, I'd like to introduce you to the new tools and resources, both for new employees as well as managers, in order for us to have the most robust onboarding experience for new employees. So first, I'd like to dive into the onboarding blueprint. So this onboarding blueprint is a document for new employees, which is a task list, if you will, for new employees to complete during their first 90 days of employment. So the first 90 days of employment is a pivotal period for a new employee to learn all they need to in order to be successful in their role. So we've created these onboarding blueprints to include function-specific activities to complete, training to take, tools and systems to be introduced to, while learning all about their role, their team, and their organization. And so when it comes down to that 90-day model, as you see it on your screen, those tasks that I just talked about were carefully placed at different intervals throughout the new employee's first 90 days. So those intervals are the first 10 days, the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. And it just depends on when the task needed to be completed. So it's all organized, pre-organized for you as a manager so that you don't have to bucket them into specific time periods. There are 2 different versions. First of all, we have these, they're function specific, as I have mentioned quite a few times now, but they're function specific in that they're including all of these different activities and tasks that are specific to that function. It is a working document, so we definitely like to ask managers to review their function specific documents. And as you're onboarding new employees, mix it up, right? Depending on what that new employee needs to cover, what they need to do during their first 90 days, it could be totally different for one employee versus another employee on your team. So use this as a working document to add specific requirements for this specific new hire. It's also important to note that we have 2 different versions per function. So we have an individual contributor blueprint, onboarding blueprint, and we have a leadership onboarding blueprint. So the leadership version is for managers of people, and it contains specific tasks for managers of people, which would include the HR-led team assimilation, as well as learning the advanced group internal recruitment process. So meeting with our RPO account manager is a task for a people manager. So most importantly, it's important to note that this document, this onboarding blueprint, is meant to be owned by the new employee. These actions are being driven by them to complete these tasks. They're the ones that are truly driving the initiative to complete all of the different tasks that are on this list. So of course, as a manager, your new employee is going to be coming to you with questions, but having them drive the conversation will help them gain independence quickly, and having them own this document will take the pressure off of the managers to remember every single thing a new employee needs to do. Instead, it's outlined in a document for you. So we have these onboarding blueprints, that's the task list. Another component to this document is what's called a weekly journal. So we are asking managers during the first 90 days of your new employee's employment with us, we are asking managers to be hosting a weekly one-on-one during those first 90 days of employment with their new employee. So managers conducting these check-ins frequently, just in the early months, are really ensuring that the new hire has what they need to be successful. Not only just the adequate knowledge and training, but exposure to people and the processes they need to know to make sure that they're getting things done. This format and being able to have the structured weekly one-on-ones will keep lines of communication open with you and your new employee for the first several months, and even into their first year. So it's really setting up a good cadence of communication between you and your new employee. This hopefully will help close the gap between institutional knowledge new hires need, as well as the experience they're already bringing. So hosting that weekly one-on-one is going to be more structured than maybe it has been in the past. And the reason for that is we're introducing a weekly journal for new employees to be completing before their weekly one-on-one. So as a manager, you'll be encouraging your new employees to be completing their weekly journal prior to your meeting with them. And this weekly journal includes questions for the new employee to complete. And those questions are, what are your 3 takeaways from the week? What questions do you have, and what is your plan for next week? So the new hire's responses to these will help the manager better understand, where is this new employee in their journey? Are those 3 key takeaways from the week exactly what I wanted them to learn or what they should be learning? Is their plan for next week something that you agree with and you think that they're on the right track? Or do we need to recalibrate? Do we need to talk about what that plan should be versus what was written? So this truly is just helping the manager and the new hire collaborate to check on process against those onboarding initiatives, to answer any questions they have, and to align on the plan for the following week. So what I'd like to do is introduce this onboarding blueprint to you. The document that I'm showing you right now is the operations onboarding blueprint for individual contributors. So as I mentioned, there are different tasks which are written under this item column that include attending new hire orientation, reviewing the getting started guide, which I'll introduce to you a little bit later, meeting your new hire buddy, which I'll introduce to you later. There's a lot of that. But even just completing training, or as an operations individual, they should be shadowing a colleague to learn eRecruit, to learn eStaff, Adobe Create, different systems that this specific function of our business relies on and needs to learn because they're working with those systems heavily. It's also shadowing a producer so that you can learn as an operations specialist, for example, how you will be supporting the producers in your role. So understanding their processes, how you'll best collaborate with them. So those items were carefully selected through our stakeholder interviews, and they continue throughout the document. So you'll see function-specific tasks to complete, as well as the HR duties and tasks, so completing benefits enrollment, for example. All of these tasks are carefully bucketed in their specific time frames, as I mentioned. So we have some tasks to complete in a new employee's first 10 days, in their first 30 days, in their first 60 days, and then 90 days. And then what we have over on the right-hand side are notes. So if it is like an HR-specific document where we have it housed somewhere, we've provided the link to that document here. That includes things like the Getting Started Guide, the org chart, watching a training video on Click. Those different components they'll be able to find here. If they have questions on any of the others, they'll be coming to their manager, or they'll be figuring it out through things like foundations, new hire orientation, those types of things. So what we're asking of new employees, what they'll be doing within this document, is they'll be completing these tasks within the buckets specified. And as they're completing things, they'll be going over to the status bucket. So every single new employee attends new hire orientation during their first day. So after their first day, they can go onto this drop-down bucket and hit completed, and it's done. So it's going to be great for the new manager, or the manager and the new employee, to connect on this document on a weekly basis for you to see, okay, what's in progress, what's being completed, what do we have to work on, just really being able to keep the employee accountable to completing these tasks. The second component to this document is the weekly journal. So this is on a second tab on this document, and it contains the 3 questions that I mentioned, which are the 3 key takeaways, what questions do you have, and what is your plan for next week. So prior to the weekly one-on-one with their specific manager, the new employee will be going in here to say, what are my 3 key takeaways? And this is during the first week. What questions do I have, and what is my plan for next week? And during my weekly one-on-one with my new manager, I'll be introducing my responses to these questions in the weekly journal to open the lines of communication and make sure that I'm getting the most out of this and that I'm aligned with my manager on these 3 topics. So that's the onboarding blueprint. This document looks different for managers. So managers will have added tasks specific to what a manager needs to learn. And it'll look different for each function. So I highly encourage you, prior to your new employee joining us, downloading this document, editing it as necessary. I mean, one type of position on your team may require different tasks, different initiatives, different projects to work on than a different position. So as you are working in these documents, maybe making position-specific ones depending on what's needed. And the beautiful part about this is you can save these documents for future use. So if you're hiring an operations specialist today and you're also hiring one next month, if they need the same exact training, this document does not change. So hopefully this is a huge help as a manager to be able to just have this document to rely on, add to, just make this your own and make this specific for the new employee joining. So that was the onboarding blueprint. I'd now like to talk about using it. So before the new employee's first day, so about 5 days prior, depending on what your schedule looks like and what you can accommodate, you'd be downloading that function-specific onboarding blueprint, and that's on Milo. You'd be selecting from the individual contributor or the leadership version, depending on what the new employee's role is. So if you're hiring another manager for your team, you'd be choosing the leadership version. You'd be reading through the tasks and adding or editing the tasks as necessary. So as I mentioned, some departments may require different things to learn. So it's important for you to read through this document briefly and make sure that it covers everything necessary for that new employee in regards to what activities they need to do, what training they need to take, all of those components. On the new employee's first day, you'll be sending the final version of the blueprint to your new employee's work email so that they have it ready and available. And then you'll be scheduling weekly one-on-ones with your new employee during their first 90 days of employment. Finally, you'll be scheduling some of the activities on the new employee's calendar to complete during their first few weeks. So if you already know when trainings are happening, or if, let's say that you have a client meeting that you'd like them to be a part of, any activities that you're seeing that are necessary for them to complete, definitely get those scheduled on their Outlook calendar. And then finally, during your first one-on-one meeting, you just be introducing them to the blueprint. So setting expectations that this is a candidate-driven or an employee-driven document, and it's something that they should be completing and talking to you about during your weekly one-on-one. So talking to them about the cadence of communication, about what you expect them to do, so completing the weekly journal, all of those things should be introduced to them and set during that first weekly one-on-one meeting. So here's a breakdown of responsibilities in regards to the onboarding blueprint. So first of all, adding and editing the onboarding blueprint prior to the new employee's first day is a manager task. Encouraging the new employee to complete the listed tasks according to their assigned time frame. So again, encouraging them to complete things appropriately and making sure that they are being set with these expectations that they need to complete them. And then hosting the weekly one-on-one with them, reviewing their progress, and then reviewing their weekly journal responses. So that's it for the manager. It's all about setup and just encouraging the new employee to really drive this and own it. The new employee is going to be owning the document. They'll be ensuring completion of the tasks. They'll be completing the weekly journal and then reviewing their progress with their manager during that weekly one-on-one. And then finally, HR is here to support both the manager and the new employee with any questions they have, any guidance necessary on how to utilize this onboarding blueprint, how to utilize any of the onboarding documents, the procedures, those types of things. And then it's continual refinement of the onboarding blueprint over time. So that's it for the first component of this onboarding model. So onboarding blueprint is a check. Secondly, I'd like to introduce some really cool new programs we're introducing to the business, and that's the Engaging Leaders program and the New Hire Buddy program. So I'm going to start with the New Hire Buddy program. This is a awesome new program for new employees to really help them get acclimated to their new work environment by meeting a buddy during their first week. So it's meant to be a very like casual conversation starter, something that they're really meeting a friend during the first week of employment, so that it's easy for them to transition into this new environment, this new culture. So the buddy will be offering guidance, encouragement, any support, answering questions, really just being there as a sounding board and as, you know, a guide for the new employee. This is going to be an HR managed program with employee participation. And the buddy time commitment is about 30 minutes to 1 hour per week for 1 month duration. So buddies and their assigned new employees will be meeting once per week for about 30 minutes to an hour. And they will just be talking about specific prompts. So we've provided them with some conversation starters for each meeting. And then just having, you know, a natural cadence of communication from there. So the structured meetings are only for 1 month. Buddies and new hires can continue the relationship after that if they feel like they want to, if they feel like there's incomplete conversation. So it really is a flexible structure after that 1 month to continue doing it, absolutely. And the awesome part about this is we've asked several leaders to actually nominate buddies. You know, we are really trying to get buddies that reflect the real values of the organization, reflect the culture, are a great, you know, someone to look up to, someone in the organization that really reflects who we are. So if you know anyone that hasn't been nominated yet, but that would be a really great addition to this, we're always looking for additional buddies. So reach out to Victoria Hill, who's the owner of this New Hire Buddy program in HR, to nominate any additional buddies you may have. The second program is very similar to the New Hire Buddy program, but it's dedicated to our new managers and leaders of the organization. So we will be appointing a senior manager to serve as a mentor to a newly hired or promoted leader. So this is a great opportunity for our existing, experienced, awesome leaders of Advanced Group to share their knowledge, their expertise, their skills, any experiences with any of the new leaders joining the organization. So this one will be a little bit different in that we will be assigning the mentor to the protege, which is the new leader, within their first 45 days of employment. So we're giving that new leader more time to acclimate to the organization and to naturally start building those relationships with leaders across the company so that they have a voice and they have a say in who they'd like to mentor them. So ultimately, the decision will be on that new manager's direct manager and HR to decide who that mentor will be, but at least they will be starting those relationships and we can see if that is going to be a viable fit for that individual to be their mentor. So the mentor and the protege will be establishing their own meeting cadence. We're suggesting once per month thereabout and having a minimum of a 6-month commitment so that there truly is great dialogue happening as that new manager is acclimating to the organization and truly being able to reach out to this mentor as they're acclimating and growing with the company. So those are the awesome new programs that we're introducing with this new onboarding model. When it comes down to responsibility, the manager truly is just encouraging new employees' participation to meet with their buddy or mentor. So every single new employee is going to be assigned either a buddy or a mentor. As that new employee's manager, encourage them to go meet them, encourage them to go grab coffee with them, or just encouraging that relationship truly is going to help them acclimate and meet with that buddy or mentor more. As I mentioned, we're always looking for new nominations. If you feel one of our current employees is demonstrating the real values and wants to participate as a buddy or as a mentor, reach out to the HR team. We have Victoria leading the New Hire Buddy program. Kim Marzano is leading the Engaging Leaders program. And we do have program documents on Milo, which I'll show you where to navigate that later. But you can look at these program documents and see the details of how to nominate, who we're looking for, what's involved in this new program. For the new employee, it truly is just participating, right? So it's meeting with the buddy you're assigned to, or it's meeting with that mentor and taking advantage of this awesome opportunity to have a one-on-one point of contact outside of your team, outside of maybe your organization, depending on who you're partnered with, but just taking advantage of that opportunity to meet someone new and help acclimate them to the culture. Finally, HR is responsible for the overall management of these new programs. So that includes the selection of buddies and mentors, training of the buddies and mentors, the assignment and ongoing maintenance of these programs. So lots of very cool things happening with the new program. So finally, we have some new tools and resources really to make an impact on new employees' ramp-up time, and also for managers, because I mean, we all know that managers need assistance in being able to make sure they're covering everything they need. Onboarding is such a daunting, huge component to a new employee's success, and we want to be able to support our employees and our managers wherever we can by providing these new tools and resources. So first of all, we rolled out a Getting Started guide earlier this year as a resource for new employees to have one place to find descriptions and instructions for all of our business and HR systems, as well as some conferencing tools. And this Getting Started guide also provides a list of internal and external points of contact. Should you have any questions about 401k, where do you go? If you have questions about green shades, who do you contact? What about payroll and benefits internally? Who are those folks and how can you get a hold of them? So this truly is just a guide for new employees to have everything they need in regards to business systems, benefits, all of that in one document. Next, very excited to roll out a new onboarding playbook for managers. So this is a new resource for managers as they are preparing to onboard new employees to their team. So you as a manager will have access to this onboarding playbook, and what it does is it provides a checklist of items for the manager to complete, to consider doing throughout the new employee's onboarding experience. So that's prior to the new employee's first day. It's through their first day, through their first 30, 60, 90 days. What do you as a manager need to be thinking about? What could you possibly be doing differently, or what you could add to make it a little bit more fun of an experience? Just a few ideas for you as a manager to really get everything you need to for that new employee. So this onboarding playbook has 4 different stages of onboarding, and it's the checklist of manager to-dos at each stage. And so if you look at the screen, these are just examples of things that are outlined in this manager onboarding playbook. And so you'll see it in more detail later, but before the start date, for example, a new manager should be contacting their new employee to express their excitement. It's so funny how that can slip your mind, right? Because you have so much going on and different things to do, but just contacting that a new employee and telling them how excited you are and making sure they feel prepared can do wonders for how they feel about the job, how they feel about you. And so it's a really important component that's a part of this checklist. Other things include on the first day orientation, stopping by new hire orientation if you can to say hello and welcome your new employee, or introducing your new employee to your department via a welcome email or via a welcome on workplace post. During their first week, introducing them to key staff, to other employees, reviewing company policies, and then during the first 90 days, hosting those weekly one-on-ones, utilizing the onboarding blueprint and monitoring performance and providing feedback early and often. So this really is just a how-to for onboarding for managers. And it can be it's very descriptive. So we do have, all of the different steps outlined, but the top page is just a checklist. So if you download this off of Milo, you'll be able to utilize it however you see fit, whether you are a brand new manager or someone that's been here a while. It's just a great reminder for you to have there and be able to work through all of your new employees with, to make sure you're doing all you can as a manager to set them up for success. Finally, the last tool on the list is a 90-day reflection survey. So we are going to be checking in with the new employees at their 90 days. They'll be sent a survey via Halogen. for them to complete and really give us feedback about their onboarding experience. So questions include, what trainings did you find most helpful? Are there any areas where you would benefit from additional training? What roles, responsibilities have you found to be most aligned with your strengths or to be most challenging? So it's getting kind of a pulse check for the new employee to ensure that they're feeling really good about their experience, that they got the most out of it. The best part about this is that the manager, as soon as that new employee completes the survey, and I should mention this survey is a task on the onboarding blueprint, so on that checklist document, completing the 90-day reflection is a task for them to complete. The best part about this is that the manager will receive the responses as soon as the new employee finishes the survey, so that you can have an open dialogue, you can review what their responses were, and you can talk to them about their responses during your final onboarding one-on-one with them. So it's all about, having that open line of communication. It's ensuring that we can further refine their onboarding experience. So if one of your employees says, I didn't get this training, it'll be great for you to see that and make sure that new employees get that, moving forward. So you can add that to their onboarding blueprint checklist. So lots of awesome dialogue, lots of great components to this onboarding model to help you as a manager better understand what's going on with that new employee, where they're at mentally and how they're feeling about their new position, so that you can make sure that moving forward, they're set up for success, they're contributing to your team effectively, and just to make sure that all is cohesive and everyone's happy and engaged with the organization. So when it comes down to these new tools and resources, as a manager, your only responsibility is just to review this 90-day reflection survey response from your new employee during your final onboarding one-on-one. So you have that manager onboarding playbook at your disposal. Use it, if you find necessary. Use it, as a reminder for yourself to check things off. But the only thing you really need to do is to review those responses with your new employee. The new employee will be reviewing the Getting Started guide. It's a part of their task list, and it's something that's really going to help set them up from a basic level. They'll be completing the 90-day reflection survey, and they'll be reviewing those survey responses with you as the manager during their final onboarding one-on-one. HR is responsible for the management, reporting analysis on the 90-day reflection survey, and the further refinement of the onboarding tools and resources over time. So that's it. Now I want to dive into what this looks like in action. So if you as a manager are getting ready to onboard a new employee, let's walk through what the different steps are and what happens throughout the timeline. So we're going to give an example of a new employee who's joining the HR team. I'm going to pick on Mary Finley. So we have a new employee joining as an HR business partner. So the following slides are walking through what Mary would need to do, what the new employee needs to do, what HR needs to do. So it's just walking through those responsibility checklists and putting them all together. So before the start date, Mary is my manager and is going to be downloading the HR individual contributor onboarding blueprint from Milo. So she's going to identify that the HR business partner is not a manager. So they will be falling under her function of HR and downloading that individual contributor blueprint. Mary is going to make changes to the onboarding blueprint as necessary before my start date. And she's going to be including what my first task is, what my first project is, and the different activities I should complete. So if any changes or updates need to be made to this onboarding blueprint, she's doing this before my start date. Mary's then going to schedule some of these activities on my calendar to complete during my first few weeks. So any meetings I should be a part of, scheduling those weekly one-on-ones with me to take place during my first 90 days, any phone calls, any people that I should be meeting, all of those Mary can schedule ahead of time so that I am really set up to complete these activities during my first few weeks. And then before the start date, HR is going to be notifying my assigned buddy of my start date and reminding them of expectations and responsibilities of the buddy. So we have these nominees, folks that have agreed to participate in this program. HR is going to be assigning a buddy to me, and they will be talking to that buddy to make sure that they're ready for my start date. So during my first week, Mary is going to be introducing that onboarding blueprint to me. So she sent it to me via email, and she's going to be setting the expectation that we will be hosting a weekly one-on-one meeting where we will review my progress against the onboarding blueprint and my responses to the weekly journal. So she will be asking me to update the blueprint as I complete tasks, and will be asking me to complete the weekly journal before we meet for our weekly one-on-one. And then for individual contributors who, this is the new hire onboarding or the new hire buddy program. So HR is going to be introducing me during my first week to my assigned buddy so that we can kick off our relationship from there. So if you are a leader, if your new employee is a leader, during the first 45 days, HR will be introducing me to my assigned mentor to kick off our relationship. So it's not both. So new employees either get a buddy or they get a mentor, depending on what position they play in the organization, whether they're an individual contributor or a leader. So if I was a leader joining, I would be getting a mentor, not a buddy. So it just depends on what position you're in, but the timing is different. So I would be meeting my new hire buddy during my first week, or if I'm a leader, I'm meeting the mentor during the first 45 days. And then just over the cadence, over the first 90 days, Mary and I will be hosting weekly one-on-ones during my onboarding, where we're reviewing my weekly journal and completed activities on my blueprint. And then at the end of my onboarding, I will be completing that 90-day reflection survey. And Mary and I will review my submitted responses during our final onboarding one-on-one, and we'll discuss the cadence of our meetings moving forward. So we are asking that you meet with your new employees weekly during their onboarding, so during their first 90 days or 3 months. After that, it's up to you. If you want to do it weekly, bi-weekly, whatever the cadence may be, depending on the team, what's necessary, you will be determining that, your cadence of meetings moving forward at that time. So next steps from here is just putting this to life, right? So you can access all of these tools. So the onboarding blueprints, all of those documents, you can access the program documents, so the new hire buddy program and engaging leaders program. You can access the manager onboarding playbook, the getting started guide, this PowerPoint deck. You can access all of these items on Milo. So we have this, you'll see that red star on your screen. We have this manager toolbox that was updated truly to give you all of the tools and resources you need throughout the employee life cycle. So there is a section in this toolbox titled Onboarding, and this onboarding section contains all of those documents. You'll see there's a folder at the very top underneath onboarding documents that lists onboarding blueprints. You'll go into that folder. It'll have one folder for individual contributors, one folder for leaders. You'll select which folder depending on the position, and then you'll find your specific function downloaded, and that's your blueprint to use. It's really simple. And then as you can see, the rest of the documents are all saved under that onboarding document section as well, under this manager toolbox on Milo. We'd really like to ensure that you are feeling confident in using these documents, that you feel you have everything you need to utilize these documents. And so what we're going to be doing as soon as you finish this training, since you're watching it now, your HR business partner is going to be scheduling just a very quick conversation with you just to discuss the blueprint, this new onboarding model, and your functions blueprint. They're going to be able to assist you in editing, updating the document, brainstorming anything that maybe was missed on the document that you feel this new employee needs. So being able to edit and update the document as necessary. And the HR business partner will be able to answer any questions you may have about the new onboarding model, maybe about the programs if you have a question. They'll be able to follow up with you after this training to provide you with all of the information you need as you need it. So it's a really great opportunity for you to feel really confident in using it as you're preparing to use it for the first time. And of course, we're here to help throughout. So we recognize that you are the ones bringing this onboarding model to life as you are onboarding new employees to your team. So just remember that, this is something that definitely will help you enhance your new employees' experience, acclimating to their role, to the organization. It's going to accelerate their new employees' speed to productivity. So the more structure we have, and as you're using these onboarding models, it's going to be a huge differentiator in how new employees are being acclimated. HR is always here to help if you need us, so please feel free to contact us if you have any questions, any feedback for these documents that you'd like to see, anything like that. Please feel free to contact me or your designated HR business partner. And I just wanted to thank you very much again for viewing this training and for participating and being the awesome managers you are. Again, any questions, let us know, but otherwise we're very excited to be rolling this out and making a difference in our new employees' speed to productivity. So thank you very much.